costs.
Oh,
And
that's right. Yeah.
that was a mistake. So kind of knowing what you know now, or what you learned when you engaged your current firm, Software Pricing Partners, what was the aha moment? What did you see like, wow, yeah, that's so different, or we should be doing things that new way? What was the gap?
Yeah, it's every time I think back to this time, it makes there's some moments that make the hair on the back of my neck stand up. But when you're overly focused on costs, you're going to kneecap the ability for you to get paid fairly, right? So in the cloud, or even on a service basis, you could be focused on, well, that resource is going to cost me $50 an hour, and I'm going to charge him therefore $60 an hour or $75 an hour. Factor in your 25 or 35% margin. And the issue with that, and this is kind of consulting at its core, right? Consulting companies have very low margins compared to software companies. Probably by a factor of 2 or 3x sometimes. And the issue that you end up happening is you forget about the value that you're providing. You forget about the focus of that company that you're serving is going to take your recommendations, take your work products, wrap it into their work stream. They're going to extract value from it, and they're going to drive maybe revenue forward. And if the answer is that they're spending $1,800 with you, and this is pretty classic, and they're driving, $5 million worth of revenue on the other side, you're not getting paid very fairly for that. And that's the issue with consulting and time and material structures, because time and material structures on an hourly rate, there's an emotional limit. You're not going to pay me $10,000 an hour. It's just not going to happen, right? You might, if a highly trained intellectual property litigator might make $600-700 an hour. If you're working at some top tier firm, maybe 900, 1,000, but that's it. So if you're a top dog and you reach that top point at age 30 or 40, it's going to be really hard for you to push up against that upper ceiling. And so time and materials is a cost-based mindset, right? Because it's saying, I'm linking you to the hour that I put in, which is in effect delinking me from the value that you receive. You could be receiving 1,000 times the value off of something I tell you. And so getting yourself off of the cost basis is super crucial. And everybody falls into that trap because your number one concern is your cost, because if the costs go up, your profitability goes down, you might be out of business. So it's a natural place to get kind of spun up on. But getting out of that mindset is really key. And in services, the way you get out of that mindset is you move to work product structures. You don't sell hours anymore. You sell an analysis, you sell an assessment, you sell some sort of defined output. And that has all kinds of implications into.
And what did that look like at your past company? So it sounds like maybe you were thinking more about costs. When you embrace that new mindset of focusing on value and return on investment and the impact and kind of outcome that is connected to the work that you were doing, what changes did you actually make to your pricing plans?
Well, I remember we were selling, this is another one of those mistakes. I probably spent an extra couple of years not making the money I should have because I was making zero. So we were selling our software on a fabricated price that I had just basically made up in a spreadsheet. And there was a really long spreadsheet where every time we ran the math of paying for the developers and everything else, what was left over for my partner and I was, hey, let's see what happens next month, which was code for you're not getting paid. And so I was really having a hard time with this. And so I actually hired a sales coach. And that was sort of my first entree of getting my head into the other person's, how they might perceive all of this. And so our journey was very much selling for many years, software transactions, probably in the $5,000 to maybe 18,000 was like a mega deal for us. And then we would round out our journey selling engagements, software engagements and services in $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. I mean, completely, you sell one of those, it's just a completely different business model at that point. And it's also hugely exciting, right? Because the grind of moving that many transactions, by the time you move it and you pay your folks, there's nothing left, right? For you as the owner.
We see a lot of this actually with many of our coaching clients in our program who do the exact same thing. in some cases, it's just the mindset, right? Not necessarily a whole bunch has to change in what you're actually delivering. It's the positioning, it's the focus, it's how you have that conversation. In your case,